Welcome to Latchkey Legends. I'm Santanu Rahman. I'm a specialist at Montopolis Recreation and Community Center. Today, my guest is Tracy Frazier, a longtime Austin resident and friend of mine.
Hi
And you are managing director of Eyes Out, which when I read the description of Eyes Out, I was like, this is a dream job, it sounds like. I think kids today would die to have a job like yours.
Yeah, I kind of lucked into it.
Talk about it real quick.
Well, I have been in film and television production, but the opportunity to become involved in the game industry with film leanings and story-driven game made me piqued my interest. So I thought, well, why not? Let me try it out.
That's wild. So let me just back up here a little bit. I always like to say this at the beginning of the podcast, and that is, in the city of Austin, what is deemed as someone being a senior, right, is age 50 and up.
Dang.
So, yeah. so, we are of that age bracket, so we technically qualify as seniors. Now, the thing is that we're not thought of when people think of seniors, right? We're definitely more leaning on the baby boomers and the silent generation. They don't really think of Generation X as seniors, but hey, we qualify. If we're 50 and they say 50 as seniors, then yeah, that includes Gen Xers. So I thought I'd take it upon myself. Let's do a podcast with Gen Xers.
That sounds good to me, although my first question is, who made the rule?
Well, we were trying to decipher that, and one of my last guest, who's a doctor, he had a guess about that the fact that AARP starts at age 50, so maybe it was lined up with that, but no one can say for certain.
Oh, I've got my mail.
Yeah. I know. When we turn 50,
Yep. I mean, actually, right before 50.
Right before, so they were like, okay, time's coming.
That's right.
Get those discounts. Did you sign up for it?
No, not yet.
I didn't either.
They promised me a cooler.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So, and the name of the show is Latchkey Legends. And it was funny, again, like just talking to folks, who were telling their, like Gen X folks who were basically telling their employees who are younger than them that, yeah, I'm going to be on a podcast called Latchkey Legends. Like, what's the latchkey? What does that mean? And so we know what that means. And so my first question to you, Tracy, is, were you a latchkey kid?
Oh, yeah.
Same here.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
I like to think that I got a little preparation prior to. I lived with my mom and dad, obviously, in the beginning, but after a while, I ended up living with my aunt and uncle, and I call that when living with my parents before Corpus Christi, and then moving to Corpus Christi. So I have two chapters I kind of delineate. And prior to moving to Corpus, where most of my latchkey experience was, living with my parents, my mom had a traumatic brain injury. So I learned early on how to read her, and then also just kind of take care of myself and entertain myself. And then my dad's occupation, he was a trucker, so he was gone a lot. So I just kind of learned how to take care of myself in a way. So then whenever I ended up moving in with my aunt and uncle, and they were working, I was already sort of used to being able to walk home from school and open the door. But then the difference there was that they had cable and MTV and rock and roll.
Oh,
so
dope.
my brain just went like, yeah.
We'd have to go to our next door neighbors because our parents wouldn't get any of that stuff, but they had cable and we would watch MTV. I remember one of the first videos I saw was Safety Dance.
Oh, yeah.
What is it, Men Without Hats?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Video Killed the Radio Star. We
Yeah.
know
Oh,
that
yeah.
that's the first video ever
Yeah.
on MTV.
Yeah. The what is it called? The Muggles or whatever.
Oh,
The
yeah.
I can't.
No, Muggles.
Muggles. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think now. See?
Yeah. It's like something like that.
50.
Yeah. So wow. So you definitely had that quintessential Gen X, like take care of yourself, figure it out on your own kind of experience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, it took me a while to embrace that. I was very angry a lot of the time when I was growing up, feeling like I was just left to my own devices.
Yeah.
But the older I get, the more I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. You know, and that is an issue that I think that I hear a lot from other Gen Xers. And when you sort of sit back and reflect, it's like there was some abandonment that we felt, right? And so like whatever our shortcomings are, just remember we were sort of abandoned a little bit as a generation, like both literally and also metaphorically, as in, they called us slackers, right? You know, and so all this talk down about us, you know, it's like, well, you know, we were sort of left to figure it out on our own, and then we get yelled at if we didn't. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it seems like slacker is a little harsh, and because we actually figured out a lot of things. And I would then take it one step further and say, oh, maybe we have some control issues because we're used to like making the decision.
yes.
So
Yeah. There was nobody to tell us no because nobody was around.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So I think that while there are the abandonment, the abandonment piece to it, there's also this massive piece of creativity that comes with it, I feel.
And empowerment.
Yeah. So speaking of creativity, I mean, you've done the gamut, it feels like, all over the place with it, just kind of like how I did, just all over the place with my creativity. One of the things that you've done, and it's something that older Austinites will really appreciate, is you worked on this documentary about Leslie. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about, one, who Leslie was for anyone who might not know who Leslie was, and then what this project was?
Well, it was the brainchild of Ruby Martin, who became friends with him. He's a cultural icon of Austin. When you talk about Austin being, for a long time, we talked about Austin being weird and full of creativity, and it still is. You just have to go underground a little bit and fight for it.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit more prevalent back in the day, and so he personified that culture of weirdness and was very accepted here versus in my hometown of San Antonio or Corpus. He would never be accepted there.
Right.
So yeah, we did a doc.
And so and this documentary kind of just showed what his day-to-day life, or his story, or his, her, them, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say for sure that he was fluid, so he or she depended on the day. So but it was a story about someone who landed in, it was kind of a zeitgeist of a time in the city that people were more plugged in to each other, I think. And so I think that it just tells the story arc of someone who could be himself here and gave others the right to do that too.
So now that I'm hearing you describe it, it sounds like in addition to being a profile on Leslie, it was also a profile of what Austin was like at that time.
Right. It was that, and then also a study of someone who walked around with no filter. I personally, and I believe Ruby was too, very interested in what does someone like him do all day,
Yeah, yeah.
and how does he get along, and also just I'm very character driven when it comes to film or story.
Now, is there some place we can find this?
It's right now. It's kind of underground. I've got you can hit me up if you want to.
Find Tracy Frazier somewhere.
That's right.
Y'all have Google.
Yeah.
So that was definitely one of your projects that you worked on. Another one was that you were an owner of South Congress Gym or South Congress Athletic Club.
Athletic Club.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Talk about that.
Well, that's sort of what led me to Leslie was because we opened up a small gym on South Congress, a really busy, bustling part of Austin.
Yeah.
And with two great neighborhoods on either side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we came from the Hyde Park Gym days, who's been around for a long time, just a no-nonsense kind of gym.
If I don't know if it's still there, but if you don't know what Hyde Park Gym is, if you're driving down on Guadalupe near 45th Street and you see a bicep being flexed on the sign, that's Hyde Park Gym.
That art was done by Dale Whistler, who also did the bat at South Congress and Riverside.
Wow.
Or not Riverside, but First Street.
Okay.
Yeah. It's and he also did the fork at Hyde Park Grill.
Oh, wow.
With all the different vegetables and whatever. But yeah.
Hyde Park Grill was my wife and I, our first dinner date.
Yeah. That place is awesome. Yeah. No, the gym was something. It's like a bar without the booze. You can go in and create community there, and people are looking to improve themselves in some way. So that's we loved creating that community there.
Yeah, I mean, South Congress, especially if you're brand new to Austin, wasn't like what it is today. It was a very different thing. I don't know if they still have it, but was it called Third Thursdays or something like that?
Oh yeah, First Thursday.
First Thursdays.
Yeah.
Yes, where basically it was like a street festival.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but I mean, back when we had the gym, we could throw. Well, I don't know if this is legal, but we threw a keg in our gym and encouraged people who were walking on the street just come on and check things out.
It never stopped. I love video.
No. Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the thing. All the shops opened up later in the day. They stayed open later.
I mean, I think I Love Video just would have a sign, free beer Tuesdays.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of the gym we were too. We weren't so stringent.
Right.
Except on your form.
For sure.
So you don't, hurt yourself.
Yeah. For sure. It was really, really cool to have been part of that whole scene of South Congress at that time. There was so much funkiness and weirdness that I felt like I fit right in. I wonder, it sort of feels like we've lost a little bit of that. Would you say?
Outwardly so.
Okay.
Yes. And then also there has been a migration of creativity of sorts. Just with the cost of living being so high here.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's up to us who are here to find that creativity within us.
Yeah. And I think
and express it.
Yeah. And one of the things that I find very interesting is that people like us, you and me, Gen Xers, we're now working, kind of these stable jobs, but we didn't necessarily come to Austin to do exactly that, right? We came kind of to be kind of weird and creative, and I don't know, it seems like that's where a lot of people would come from other places to be in Austin, because there was just a lot of creative energy here.
Yeah, it was sort of a moth to a flame for me, just more. I wasn't able to really express myself the way I thought I should or could.
Yeah.
Where I was from. Right. So when I got here, it was effortless and easy to connect with people, and people weren't so concerned about what you did. They just wanted to know who you were.
Right. Oh, I like that. Yeah, for sure. So as a Gen Xer, what were some of your, I guess, most influential films and shows that you watched that you're like, this one has my name all over it?
Well, back in the day, I probably, and a lot of us in our age group probably watched a lot of stuff that we probably shouldn't have been watching. Like
Guilty.
A very big influence. Well, and because I'm, again, being in Corpus with cable. Corpus with cable.
Yes.
The Big Chill was it sounds weird, but it captivated me because it was, and it's an ensemble piece. Yeah. They're talking a lot. Yeah. But I believe it's Lawrence Kasdan who wrote that. I just really connected with it. But it did two things for me. It connected me with just people grappling with grief, and I was really grieving myself because I wasn't with my mom and my dad. So I really connected with that. And then the first song in the film was "You Can't Always Get What You Want" by the Stones. Yeah. And I remember going, after watching that movie, I was probably like 8.
Oh, wow.
Or 9.
Oh, wow.
And I went to my room, and I had a tiny little wooden piano, and I just remember going, dun, 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 dun. Yeah, and because I just was like, it just filled me with emotion. Yeah. So, but that, I mean, those were older people, I'd say, being portrayed, and that I couldn't connect with. The older part, I could just connect with the emotion. But the coming of age films, like any coming of age film that made me feel like the kids were in charge. Yeah.
Like, what did you think of John Hughes movies?
Well, of course, I loved them at the time. Now I have a different perspective.
Some of them aged okay. Yeah. Some of them did not.
Some of them did not. But the humor was, gosh, it was kind of undeniable, really. Yeah. But now the humor is, it doesn't land right anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Some of it, right? Yeah. So, but that's one of that's like, with 16 Candles and any of his movies, I felt like the teenager, Pretty in Pink, the teenager was in charge.
Right.
And it was because it was from their perspective, of course, but like the adults were always portrayed as just not getting it.
Yeah.
So I really loved that.
Yeah. And that I mean, I think one film, it's not a John Hughes film, but that sort of embodies a lot of that idea is Footloose, where where what's John Lithgow is that it? Yeah. Who
was the dad? He's the preacher.
Yeah, he kind of sort of represents. There must be no dancing.
No dancing. Oh yeah, I mean that I used to loathe musicals. And that film, I attribute that film for my tiptoe sort of into musicals. I like them much more now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So would you say that there was a genre of film that you really got into that, like, oh man, this genre, because there's so many different genres and subgenres, and in the 80s, there's so many incredible films, 80s and 90s, that were made, that it would be hard to pick one genre, because there was lots of great films from different genres. But is there one that you sort of pick over all the others? Maybe give it a slight lead, like our friend Chris Rasky, his genre is horror.
Well, I have just gotten into horror.
Oh, really?
Personally.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent a lot of time running away from horror because I saw The Thing and it flipped me out, and I still have a hard time watching it.
Oh, wow. I watched it for the first time a few months ago, because I was too scared to watch it.
For years.
For years. And so now watching it, I was like, this is incredible.
It's incredible. No, it is incredible. John Carpenter, come on.
But I was way too scared to see it when I was a kid.
Well, that's what cable did to me.
Yeah.
We could watch anything, and when my aunt and uncle were not around, I was like, I'm watching this. What?
You know what movie messed me up? Because I watched it when I was too young, and I wasn't even supposed to watch it. It just happened to be on while my parents were watching it on TV on this VCR that a friend was trying to sell them. Was The Exorcist.
I'm glad you said that. Yeah.
That messed me up.
No.
I had nightmares for months after that.
I had a nightmare that Linda Blair was walking down the hallway, and this is Gen X. I had the nightmare that Linda Blair was walking down the hallway, and Grace Jones was reading to me in the corner of my room, all at one time happening. Yeah, it was that film, because when I also say before Corpus, I was really, my mother was very into, she almost died because of her traumatic brain injury. So very religious.
Yeah.
So we went to a very fundamentalist church. Exorcisms were talked about all the time. So I thought that was kind of it, right? And then I get over here and I was like, what is this?
Yeah, right.
And I saw it. I still haven't seen the director's cut. I have only seen what they put on CBS.
Did they really?
They put some version of The Exorcist on regular television. And my aunt, who's really into films and everything, she was like, you got to watch out for this. There's a lot of makeup in here. She was really trying to prep me.
Yeah. And
because she wanted to see it herself.
Oh, I see.
And so we watched it as a family.
Yeah. Wow. A family affair. That the whole CBS thing reminds me, I saw The Omen 3 on late night CBS.
Crazy.
I was like, and I was just a kid, and I still, to this day, I have not seen the movie since, but to this day, I still have images of the person like sinking under the ice, and not unable to come back because there's so much ice. I was like, that messed me up.
Totally. No, The Exorcist was one that just, and now that I work in horror, I'm so fascinated with it.
Oh yeah.
Just by fear, like, what scares different people and that sort of thing. And then you can kind of go deep dive into that. But the genre that I preferred back in the day was more, smart comedy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you like, give me some of them that you really liked.
To me, smart comedy was like Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Sure, yeah.
Tootsie.
Yeah, Tootsie. I saw that in the theater.
Yeah, like Raising Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
Which recently Austin Cinema just had it in 35 millimeter. I'd never seen it in the theater. Love me some Raising Arizona. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Nice. Big Lebowski?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize, that I had to watch over and over again because I always felt like I was missing the joke or something.
Right.
But I was still into it.
Right. Yeah.
Until I just let go.
Yeah. So let's talk about music. What was in the sort of junior high, like late elementary school, junior high years, which was basically our 80s, maybe a little bit of the high school too. With that, what were the music fascinations for you?
I mean, well, as I had the evolution of music for me in elementary was pre-secular Amy Grant.
Whoa.
Christian, that was my first concert.
Really?
Cannot believe that.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And 70s and 80s country.
Interesting.
Uh-huh. But that was music I didn't choose myself.
It was around you.
It was around me.
Yeah.
Cut to Corpus Christi
Mm-hmm.
and rock and roll.
Yeah.
Now we're into classic rock. We're into hair metal.
Mm.
We're into punk. We're into new wave.
Mm-hmm.
We're into a little bit of pop.
Yeah.
But it started getting into too poppy for me after a while.
Okay.
So and then a deep dive into bands like Skinny Puppy and all that, right?
The whole industrial
Ministry,
era.
yeah,
Of
course.
Yeah. No, that's good stuff.
I like to say I liked everything but polka, but then now as I have evolved even more, I cannot get me enough of Flor de Toloache, all-female mariachi group. I still listen to Selena. And by the way, I didn't listen to her while I was there.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Didn't know that.
Uh-huh.
Because I was still I was really into Depeche Mode and
Sure.
all that.
Sure.
But
don't they have a whole museum dedicated to it?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to the music, so some people just listen to the music in the background, and yeah, it's cool. But something tells me like it held a deeper space for you. Did it? Was music? Were you like really into it, like reading the album cover from start to finish, while or was it more just this is sort of my soundtrack as I navigate through my days?
Well, if you're a film lover and you're connected with your soundtrack, yes.
Yeah.
So while I did read the album liner and all that, I just couldn't get enough of it. But I can't sit there and spout it off to you. It just comes to me visually.
Yeah.
For me,
yeah.
Like I can think of the Randy Rhoads tribute, the Ozzy Osbourne album. Like, come on now, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or the first time I ever listened to Eazy-E.
Oh yeah.
That I would liken to John Hughes's films, because I then later would listen to it and go, oh my God.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff against women here,
but
he was so funny and talented too at the same time, with great hooks. So you just whatever.
Yeah. Since you mentioned Eazy-E, let's do a transition from 80s to 90s, because that's another very Gen X thing, because there was some massive cultural shifts happening. You had the sort of glamour and glitz of the 80s, the whole over the top everything with the 80s, the cocaine 80s sometimes they call it.
Yeah.
And then 90s came, Nirvana came, all the metal bands cut their hair. Grunge started this sort of countercultural movement saying like all that stuff is nonsense. You know what I mean? Like there was this whole revolt against almost like an indictment against how horrible all that stuff was. So what was your 90s like? Like musically, lifestyle? Because then for Gen Xers, this is where we start becoming adults, like young adults, 90s.
Yeah. Well, for me, I was a late bloomer, or late to the game, late to the party, whatever you want to say, with grunge. I didn't really plug into it as much.
Okay.
But by the time I was here in 1992, I guess I had taken a little bit of a break of really diving in because I was I was working and going to school at the same time, so I was getting kind of distracted with that. But then I started working at Threadgill's. And
Oh, wow.
Threadgill's like gave me a whole insight into the reason why Austin called itself the music capital of the world. So I really dug into all of that, and that was like every week I would just see amazing musicians like, Floyd Domino or Champ Hood, whose son Warren Hood is an amazing musician. If you ever get to see him, go to ABGB. I just
Did Threadgill's
Janis
lean
Joplin, all
blues though? Did it lean
a blues, folk, anything, because the person that owned it, Eddie Wilson, had the Armadillo World headquarters. So the main thing about that place was that you could see blues next to opera, next to the Dead. You could see Talking Heads. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. I guess now that you mention it, as you're talking to it made me think like there was definitely sort of this 90s moment nationally when it came to just our culture, our pop culture. But Austin almost had its own thing going on in the 90s.
Yeah.
Because I'm reminded of like, Dazed and Confused, the Richard Linklater movie. And I was in my hometown, Champaign, Illinois, and I watched it 3 times in the theater. I loved it so much. And so, and when I hear about, Stevie Ray Vaughan being an icon here and all that sort of stuff, it's like, Austin had its own sort of scene going on, its own kind of, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, and at that time, I could go to the Black Cat and watch Patrice Pike and Little Sister and go to Steamboat and, see Joe Rockhead. That's one of Bob Schneider's first bands, or if it's not his first band, I don't know. But, loved to see it live. That's why I kind of didn't really get into the grunge as much at the time.
Yeah, totally understandable. And speaking of all that, you play a little 4-string yourself.
Well,
When did that start happening? When because that is the thing. Like when you connect with it, you're like, wouldn't it be cool if I played it, right?
Yeah, but I'm working on. Actually, I'm reading a book called The War of Art. It's an old book. It's from 2002, I believe. But
it's a great title, by the way.
It's great. And
so The Art of War, The War of Art.
That's right, because I've had some creative blocks, and with and playing the bass has been a journey of fits of starts and stops, and so. It's been helping me understand. This book has been helping me understand my bass playing. Being, I wanted instant gratification that I was good, but I can't. I'm learning how to not do that. I don't need that instant gratification anymore, and I need to do the work. So. That's what's happening now.
Right on. It's all good though.
I bring it to that because I don't want to put it out there in any way that I play publicly or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, most of us just play in our bedrooms
just
anyway.
Tinker around.
Yes, that's what a lot. Some of us are still out there, putting it out, but a lot of us are just like either in somewhere covered collecting dust or tinker around once in a while.
I relegate myself to 4 strings.
There you go.
That's it.
That was my first instrument.
Oh, nice.
So, all right, I got to ask you this before we sign off. This is something I'm starting to ask everybody. So, as a teen, as a kid, what were, if you had any, some of the posters you had on your wall?
Oh, let me think if I was allowed to have posters on my wall. I don't think I was.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I had maybe a scrapbook, and let's see, that would consist of Duran Duran and John Taylor, because he's one of those awesome bassists. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of circus magazines.
Oh, yeah, I remember those. Yep.
But I couldn't put it on my wall.
Okay.
I wasn't allowed to.
Yeah. But you had the magazines.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And they had the posters
Oh
inside.
yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yes. Nice. Well, thank you so much for being on my show. And let's do this again sometime.
Okay, thanks for having me.
All right. And thank y'all out there for listening.